Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Devon Fuller. I am the program assistant of the Family and Community Engagement Program at Center of Life. We are kicking off our X a Teacher virtual series today. We are, of course, partnering with Propel Hazelwood, and we have Rachel Sonnet with us, as well as many educators who are here to answer your questions. I'm sorry, and bring some information to you to help you with your student at home. So I'll let everyone introduce themselves, and Rachel, I'll kick it off with you.
Great. So before we get started, we're just going to go over some session norms, and Kiyomi already touched on one. So the session isn't confidential. So if you have anything that's very personal, you let us know and we can talk about it outside of this because it is being recorded, and we just want to, make sure that, everybody feels comfortable with what is being shared publicly. And the other things on here are talking, so stay muted, especially if you have noise in the background, so that way we can hear everyone. If you have a question or a comment, you can either type it in the chat at any time or wait until we ask for responses. And then, so the fourth thing is this session is more focused on like overarching education concerns about English and English coursework like reading and writing, and not so much specific homework questions. So more like, how are we viewing, virtual learning? What do you need help with in setting your kids up for that sort of success, and not, I have a problem with question 2A on page 7 and I need assistance with that. And if you do need assistance with that, we'll help you outside of this session, but we just want it to be applicable to everybody. Any questions, comments, concerns about the session norms before we move on? Okay. So today, we're going to start with introductions, like Devon said, and then we're going to move into a presentation from Ms. Gooden on growth mindset for students and for the adults in the room, and then some English tips, and then the question and answer session at the end. And I do want to thank Center of Life for hosting us today. Thank you so much. We like coming on here and, combining the two communities together. I think it's really important to have, our kids out in the community in the school. So thanks for having us. So our opening circle, and we're a pretty small group, so we don't need to do it in the chat unless you're more comfortable doing that. But you can take this minute to introduce yourself. What's your name? Do you have kids in school, or are you a staff member at the school? And what is your favorite childhood story? And by story, we mean like book, movie, poem, song. So I'll start so everybody else has time to think. My name is Miss Sonnet, and I am the community site coordinator at Propel Hazelwood. I don't have any kids in school, but I have been at Propel Hazelwood for 2 years now. And my favorite childhood story was the Junie B. Jones series. I think I had the full set, and I read them all at least like 7 times when I was younger. So that was my favorite. I'm just going to go by who I can see and call on people because that seems to go better, unless you put it in the chat. So let me open up the chat really quick. Oh, so Erin, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Erin Haberjack. I am a 3rd grade ELA teacher at Hazelwood. I've been there since they opened the doors for 7 years. And actually my kindergartner is in kindergarten at Hazelwood too. So I kind of have both lenses. And then my favorite book, I actually brought it with me because I just ordered a new one, was The Giving Tree.
Great, thanks. Devon. Seems she might have stepped away quickly.
I'll go, Rachel.
Sure.
My name is Carrie Woodard. I am the Propel Partners in Wellness Project Manager. So I oversee Propel's comprehensive wellness system here at Propel Schools. So all 13 schools really. And I have a lot of favorite childhood stories, but I would have to say The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats seems kind of fitting for this week.
For sure. Miss Allen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Debbie Allen. I have been involved with Propel since it's opened. I have 3 children. I have a grader, a 6th grader, and a 4th grader. And Miss Haberjack knows me from when the doors have opened with my 7th grader. I love the snow. I love the one for Snowy Day, but I have to say my favorite book growing up not only was The Giving Tree, but Corduroy.
Oh yeah.
The bear. But I love when I was growing up, I loved walking in the snow. So Snowy Day was always my favorite, but Corduroy was too.
Great. Chris?
My name's Chris Beeson. I'm the kindergarten teacher at Hazelwood. I've been there for 2 years now, 2.5 years. This is my 2nd full year. Before that, I taught kindergarten for 7 years elsewhere. So my kids are all grown up now and they're in college. So I do not have any children at school. And my favorite childhood story, it's always hard because I am a huge literature fan, but my favorite childhood story was The Little House by Virginia Lee Burton. And I loved it because you can see all of the seasons with the apple tree. They go from country to city, and you can see all of the phases of the moon in the book, which is really cool.
Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Alex. I have 2 children now in Propel Homestead. And I really couldn't think of a childhood favorite book, but I did read I'll just say Corduroy. I'll just go with that. Since the other lady said that. That and Charlotte's Web, I do remember reading too. So,
Thank you. Mackenzie?
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Southworth. I am the 5th grade ELA teacher. And the first story that came to mind was The Polar Express. For some reason, no matter the season, that book really was very interesting to me and one of my favorites. So that would be my favorite childhood story.
Lonnie?
Hi, my name is Lonnie Gooden. I'm the prevention specialist and I work with Propel Partners in Wellness. I do not have any kids, but I've been working at Propel Hazelwood for the past, I think this is going on 3 years now. And my favorite childhood story, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with this one. It was called Mrs. Toggle Zipper. And I don't know, I just feel like I relate to that. That is something that would happen to me, like a zipper getting stuck and it just like affecting my entire day. So that's why I picked
that. Dr. Stephanie?
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Stephanie, the 7th and 8th grade math teacher at Hazelwood. This is my first year at Hazelwood. I was a resident teacher last year at Braddock Hills. Favorite childhood book, I would say Goodnight Moon. That's a book I love. My kids also love that book. I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I could recite that by memory. We've read it so many times. So.
And I think I saw our principal join in. We're just introducing ourselves. If you have any kids and what grade they're in and your favorite childhood story. If you're there.
So I don't know, when I register, it says Tina Mayer It's me, Mr. Bonner.
Okay.
I'm the assistant principal for Hazelwood for grades 5 to 8. I have no children. Favorite childhood story? Oh, I don't think I had one, but I did enjoy reading Goosebumps.
No, that counts.
Okay.
I like those two. Okay. Did I miss anybody?
Did you ask Devon to share? Because I know you were looking for her.
If she was Devon, do you want to share your favorite book?
I thought you called me. Yes, so of course I introduced myself already. I do have a second grader and a fourth grader in PPS. And my favorite childhood book was I had two, Are You My Mother, as well as Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss.
Great. Well, thanks everybody so much. I think with a small group, it's nice to know who's all here and to see each other's faces briefly as we all pop up in the corner when we talk. But we're going to move on into the presentation about growth mindset from Miss Gooden.
All right. So we're going to be talking about how to get a growth mindset. So there's two different types of mindsets. There is the growth mindset and there is a fixed mindset. What you want to have is a growth mindset, and what that is the beliefs that basic qualities can continue to develop over time through like hard work, dedication, trainings, and other improvements. So basically, just stating that if you try hard and you work hard, you are able to achieve certain things. And a fixed mindset is pretty much just saying that if you didn't get this natural ability, you'll never be able to achieve it, and just basically just giving up on that. Looking at the picture over in the corner, there is some examples of like a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I'm going to read a few. Just the first one is I don't understand fractions because I'm not good at math. So that would be a fixed mindset because you've already had your mind made up. You're not good at it. You can't improve at it. And number two is I like challenging myself because it helps me gain new knowledge. So that would be a growth mindset because you're saying you want to challenge yourself, you want to gain more knowledge, and you want to be better. You can go to the next slide, Rachel. Thank you. So why do you want to have a growth mindset? Like, why is this important? So one of the first things is that it gives you the motivation to try your best. So if you know that there is a chance that you will achieve your goal, you're definitely going to try to do that. The second reason is you are more dedicated to whatever you are striving to achieve. So the more dedicated you are, the more invested you are in your goals, more likely you will be to achieve them. And lastly, a positive outlook can create positive change. So the way you view things can change your reality. So just trying to keep a positive mindset at all times. And I know that is very difficult, but it is something that we should try to do. Looking over at the picture at the top that says children who have a growth mindset are more likely to learn from their mistakes, be more motivated to succeed, put forth more effort, take challenges head on. They will be more willing to take risks. They will be more willing to seek feedback from others, which is very difficult. But if you have that mindset, you can do that. And the last two are learn more and as well as learn faster. Okay, so how do you use a growth mindset at home? So one of the first things is just creating a sense of purpose. Like whenever you have a reason to get up in the morning and achieve your goals, it makes it a lot easier just to get up because you know you have a reason. And they could be very simple reasons, like maybe for a parent, it could be just to be the best parent you could possibly be for your children. Or maybe for a kid, it could be just as simple as, making sure they move on to the fourth grade. So just having some sort of purpose and getting up in the morning and having a reason to go about your goals is something you want to do. One of the next things, or one of the next things that you could do is change how you speak to yourself. So your words could be your reality, and you want to try to speak positivity over your life. So just change how you speak to yourself, how you speak to your children. try like affirmations like I am worthy, I am good enough, I can do these things. Try to add words like yet into your vocabulary. So I haven't achieved that goal yet, or I haven't got that promotion yet. So just trying to change how you speak to yourself and to others around you. And just the next one would be view your challenges as opportunities. So that is a difficult one, even for myself, just trying to see like how can I change my mindset and making sure that I don't just see it as a challenge and I can't achieve it. How can I do that and say, you know what, actually this might be a good thing for me. Let me change the way I'm viewing this and maybe see some positives in it. And the next one is recognize and embrace your imperfections. So just be able to see like no one's perfect. No one's ever, well, no one will ever be perfect. So pretty much just try to recognize like I am imperfect, but embracing that and then moving forward. Appreciate the process and the end result. A lot of times we like to just focus on the end goal. So whatever that goal is, that's all that matters. But try to appreciate and honor the process that you're in and those little moments. So each time you lead up to your goal, just try to acknowledge that. And the last thing would be to celebrate your growth. So just making sure not just at the end goal celebrating throughout that whole process, just making sure that you're celebrating the big and the small wins. And also before I forget, I wanted to say the picture over in the corner too, like stop saying you're so smart. So that goes back over to like just changing how you speak to yourself and your children. So some of the examples are like it was brave of you to try to do this, or you really tried hard on that, or I admire the way you whatever that child did. And then try to just, speaking that to yourself as well, because we know kids learn from example. So if they see you speaking positive over your life, they will do the same. So that's it for growth mindset.
Does anybody have like any experiences with their kids really being hard on themselves during this time of like virtual learning, and have you tried to do any of this sort of like mindset shift yet, or is it something people are interested in doing at home? Go ahead,
Miss
Miss.
Rachel. It's not that she has a hard time with virtual. Um, Maya thinks that Maya feels that at times it's not challenging enough for her, or sometimes she'll feel it's not, that if it is challenging for her, okay, am I getting the right answer? But she does really well with virtual, better than my other two. But I have actually, me and her worker have actually done some mindset things with her while she's been at home, and they do work. They really do work. It makes the kids feel a lot better about themselves, that even though they are virtual, they're it's not going to be forever.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good to hear that, you guys are already thinking of that and using it at home. Does anybody else have any experiences with it at home, or feel like it's something now that, you might try to implement more? I mean, I've tried to shift the way I talk to kids at work. Like, oh, not like you did so great on the test, but like you really tried, and I'm really proud of the way that you really focused rather than just focusing on that end number. It's something I've implemented.
It's definitely a great reminder, because I think it's easy to fall back into those old habits of you are so smart. But like you were saying, Rachel, I love how hard you tried, or I can tell that you were really thinking about that. It's a great reminder. I have a 4-year-old at home, so this was helpful for me.
I was going to just add, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to just add into that, like I said, I'm a mom of a kiddo at school and a teacher. And so there's just seems to be so many things going on in our world right now that we have no control over. but this is something that you can have control over. And so you can change the way you're thinking, you can change what's coming out of your mouth. And so this has been helpful for me too, more so as a parent than I would say even a teacher, because it's something that we can control as opposed to everything else going on that we cannot right now.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it's even something too like that you could gradually do. So it may just start off with just saying something like positive in the morning, and then maybe just saying like, I hope you have a good day. Just starting off with something simple first, and then like gradually getting into that. So it's not something that's like you have to get right to it and like just change it in one day. It's something that you can grow at. And I think whenever you do that, it kind of just reflects. Like if you start doing it for yourself, you see your kids doing that too. So I think it's something that we could all, utilize, and we would all grow from it.
Yeah, great. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add or talk about before we move on? Just want to give everybody enough time to unmute if they want to unmute.
I do have a question on this growth mindset at home, more so for like littler children. And I see, like you said, create a sense of purpose. How do you do that for someone who's like a kindergartner or a first grader? What are some tips in helping them create a sense of purpose?
I think like when we see that word like purpose, we automatically think like in a sense like your life goal. Like I think just sometimes even making it like as simple as just having a good day, like that could be like a in a sense like a purpose, if that makes sense. Like I think we just look at it like it's like a big picture, but just kind of like making it simple for like a little kid, like just saying like, you know getting up in the morning to maybe at the end of the day if there's a reward, or maybe at the end of the week there's something that you'll be doing with like as a family or something. So I can't say go to the park because right now, obviously, like we're not doing that. But maybe if you have like a game night or something, like waking up knowing that, like, telling a kid like that could be for them a sense of purpose, if that makes sense to you. I know
Yes, it
it's
makes
confusing, but like,
no, that makes a lot of sense. But like you said, it does. I think when I hear purpose or see purpose, I think of like life goals, but chopping it down to something smaller definitely helps. Thank you.
And in kindergarten too, I know that we give the learning targets for the day to tell the children why we are doing the activities that we are doing for the day. So why are we learning letters? Why are we learning numbers? We're learning our letters and letter sounds so that you're going to be a reader and you're going to be a writer. And this is what we're going to accomplish by the end of the lesson. So they have like that small term goal, like Lonnie was saying. It's not a long-term goal necessarily. These are a lot of little wins that can make them feel really good about themselves. And to add to what we were talking about earlier with Miss Sonnet, was that as I was map testing some of the children for reading and math, I was telling them like, I'm so proud that I see you using the skills that we learned in the classroom to answer the questions. And just like letting them know like, hey, you're really growing. I see that you're really listening to the question. Things like that. They're small wins, but they're wins. And listening is very important in kindergarten, as I tell kids at the very beginning of the year. So just learning how to listen, learning how to pay attention. These are all things. The social emotional part of kindergarten is just as, if not more important than the academic part of kindergarten.
Thank you.
I just had something really quick to add into that too. So specifically, my daughter is struggling with like the writing because that's hard and it's challenging and it takes a long time and it's tedious, especially for little ones. And so, like I just said this to her the other day. I said, someday you're going to need to be able to write so that when you're far away, you can write mommy a letter. And so, like I always try to phrase it as to something that she's going to need to do later, or need to do next week, or need to do tomorrow. And I try really hard to like make it meaningful to her. Like it's meaningful to her to be able to write a letter to mommy. So that's been helpful too.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
We also for the little sorry.
No,
We
go ahead.
also for the little ones included in our curriculum are those growth mindset pieces. So we learn about perseverance and we talk about what that means and what that looks like and what it sounds like in kindergarten. So I always add those in on our Fridays when we are reviewing and letting the kids catch up on work from the week. We always talk about like what friendship means and perseverance and what being responsible looks like, so that they're learning all of those skills as we go along as well. I've sent out some things on Seesaw about the power of yet, like Lonnie was talking about before, like not saying like, I can't do this. It's like, no, you just can't do it yet. You're going to learn how to do it. So the more that you practice, the more that you do it, you're going to learn it. And a lot of times I will compare academics to sports because kids really love to play like soccer, basketball, baseball, volleyball, whatever they're into. And I always tell them like, when you first started playing soccer, could you score a goal right away? No, you had to practice. And once you practiced all the time, then you were able to do it. Same thing with learning letters and letter sounds, same thing with learning addition or about numbers, those types of things. So just like bringing it down to a little bit more of a level that they're on something that they can understand. Even just like, did you know how to use scissors the first time? No, you practiced it. So knowing that they can grow and learn it so that it doesn't become as frustrating.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lonnie. And we're going to move on and get more into the presentation that deals specifically with English and some tips from our teachers. So first, we're going to talk about reading standards and why they're important and why you should know what level your kid should approximately be at and how that can help you at home. Then we're going to talk about being a reading role model, and then just some general tips from the 3 teachers on the call. So, Erin.
Okay. So just how Rachel just mentioned, so reading standards are super, super important. What the problem seems to be with the reading standards and any standard is that they become very wordy, they get very difficult to follow, but they are honestly like sometimes much more important than even letter grades. Excuse me, I have a dog. And so being able to like understand those standards is really important, and that's where there's a lot of resources that can help parents understand them, but also this is a really good time where it's beneficial to reach out to your teacher to ask about those standards. Those standards are things that our kiddos should be able to do, not just in a specific grade, but that will carry them through their academic careers and then into adult life. And, they have skills in there that they should be able to do it in adult life too. So one of just a really good place to start is Scholastic's website. And Rachel,
You want me to click on it?
Yes, please. Scholastic tends to put things in much more parent-friendly terms. And this specific site breaks standards down into grade level. So if you want to click on 3rd grade, since that's where I live right now in the 3rd grade world. So if you scroll through this, and this is something that teachers can get to you, we can share it to your students' laptop so that you guys have access to it if you don't have your own. Basically, Scholastic goes through and you can just scroll down and it tells you what skills your 3rd grader should have, or your kindergartner, 1st grader, in ways to build those skills. And it gives very bulleted, very brief points of how to build the skills that they should have. Now, when I was going through this, I was thinking, okay, so what if my 3rd grader is not on this level? Scholastic is really nice because they offer it for every grade level, kindergarten the whole way through. So if you say my kiddo's not here yet, even though they're in 3rd grade, it's really nice. You can skip back to 2nd grade or skip back to 1st grade or bump up to 4th grade. And then when you're moving through the site, it also has ways to build writing skills, some activities to try to build those writing skills. And then, like I said, it does link on the bottom those other grade levels if you feel like your kiddo's not quite there yet. Do any parents have questions on this specific site, or teachers, or? I knew you were
Miss
coming
Erin,
for me, Debbie. I knew you were coming.
no, I actually have a question for you. You
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
all three of my kids can read.
Yes.
It's just, I feel they could use extra, especially being virtual. And you said this was open to all grades.
It is.
Can-
So Debbie, in your specific situation, what I would do is I would bump up every grade. So like Tyler's in 4th. So I would
Right.
maybe look at the 5th grade skills, even 6th grade skills for him, and kind of keep pushing him. And that's the way you can do it too, is look at those higher grade levels.
That's actually what I was asking that for, because even though Shaylin is in the 7th grade, I feel she needs some stuff that she didn't pay attention to in the previous years that
Right.
could help her now.
Right. So you could bump back, to 6th grade for her, just to, do like a refresher, or even over the summer, if you want to like just refresh some skills, you could bump back to 6th grade
Right.
for her. Yep.
Because I feel last year when all this started, I think that's when the lax went, because we were all new to the virtual and
Right.
everything. Yeah, I would like a way to just let them refresh the grade that they were in last year to help them in the further grades that they're going to be in later on.
Right.
So how does parents get on this?
So there is a link in, Rachel has it. So there is a specific link you can go into, and all of these resources are free.
Okay.
Rachel, how would we share this with?
I'm just going to put it in the chat, and then we'll also I'll create a PDF after the presentation of the slides, and all the links will be clickable from the slides.
Okay, that's good, Miss Rachel, because the reason why I was asking is right now I'm on my phone. So I it's hard for me to get stuff out of the chat. But I'll just wait for you to send the PDF, and then I'll access it that way on my computer.
Perfect.
And then
Thank you,
also-
Miss Erin.
Sure. And then something also too, if you are not able to access something, or you want help with, getting something, please reach out, and somebody in your grade level team, or always just reach out to me, and I can get things printed and sent home with one of your kids, or I can just even put it in the mail. You can come at the school and get it. Like, we can make sure that you're getting what you need.
That's good, because I come up and get the grab and goes anyway.
Right. So we can make sure you get what you need.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks, Erin. Mackenzie is going to talk about being a reading role model and some resources we have for you there.
Yes. So I think going back to Lonnie said in the beginning when talking about growth mindsets, that as parents and even educators, but as adults, we are often an example for our students or our kids at home. And so if we are setting up those good examples of what it looks like to be a strong and interested reader, then that will reflect into what our scholars are doing at home. Couple of things that you can do to encourage the reading, or to just show interest that will bring out the questions and things for your scholars. Anytime your student or your child is sitting down to read, there are several questions that can be asked before they read, while they are reading, and after reading, that will help to take the reading a little farther, not just saying, oh, we're going to sit down and read, and then that's the end of that. So asking those questions before they even dive into the book. What does the cover of the book look like? What does the title say? What does the artwork look like? What predictions can we make about what we read before we get into the book? Can you tell me why you chose this book, why you're interested in it? Can we make connections between this book to something else that we are reading, or something else that we are doing? Same sort of thing while you're reading the text, making personal connections. Oh, this connects back to something I just saw happen in school today, or this connects to the book that I read last week or last year in school. Making predictions again. I've read a little bit. Now, what do I think is going to happen in the rest of the chapter? Discussing those illustrations. And then again, when you're done reading, summarizing those important parts, having your child retell you what they read, so that you know that they are making those connections and that they are processing and comprehending what they're reading. In addition to that, when we ask questions or we are showing that we are interested, it tells our students and our kids that we value reading. We see it as something that is important, and we are interested in what they are doing. So talk to your child about what they are reading. And if you have questions as you're going through, please ask. If your scholar doesn't understand something, a way to help them is reach out to the teacher or to someone in the school that you have contact with. And like Ms. Haberjack said, we will find the answer or get the information to you. We do not want anybody to feel like they are not being supported in ELA or in their reading. And so this goes even to reading resources. So I know that sometimes getting actual books just in general can be a challenge, especially with a pandemic when it's challenging to get to places. And so there are several websites and opportunities that are free that you can access. So building an at-home library, getting a library card, and there that is linked in here how to access. I believe it's the Carnegie Library, Rachel, I could be wrong, but getting a library card for the Carnegie Library. There's online books through Epic, and at least at Hazelwood I know that the vast majority of scholars have Epic accounts that they can access, and they know how to access very easily, and Epic has thousands of books. But there's also things like in-person pickups. If a scholar ever came to school and said they wanted a book, you could come to any of the English teachers, I'm sure, and we would be happy to send something home with the scholars to read. Just more generally, there's always thrift shops and half-price books that have texts that students can read. And then there's little libraries. In the front of Hazelwood, there's a little library, and those books are refilled bi-weekly. Also, Miss Sonnet's a great resource, and she always has texts or books or can find some that would be of interest. But really, digging in and showing that you are interested in what your scholar is reading is going to help them feel that there is purpose in them reading. It's not just an assignment that they are given in school, but it's something that transfers back home so that they understand reading is in everything that we do. It's not just in my English class sitting in the school building. It's also I'm reading labels on food or at home, or I'm reading a newspaper, I'm reading an article. So making sure that it goes back into our everyday life at home and not just during ELA class in the school. Questions about any of that? And all of this, so Debbie, I know that you were talking about like providing those extra resources for your students and or your kids, and so part of that is maybe you want to check out these like worksheets that will help kind of guide you want them to work on skills or to dive a little deeper into the text that they're reading. And so there's also great websites that provide worksheets and skills that way that they could do alongside their reading that might help to challenge them that way.
Yeah, and instead of them, I agree with you, Ms. Southworth, and instead of them being on their computers, I do have a computer at home that they would be able to go on to, because they know they don't go on mom's computer. That's just a no-no. Mm-hmm. But I would put them on if it was something educational, because even though I know they're on their computers, like literally Tyler and Shaylin are on their computers all day long. So I want them to get a break, but when like on days off, when they don't have anything to do, or like Shamaya, when she is bored and doesn't have anything to do, I do want them to increase their reading. Mm-hmm. And I do want it to be something that they like to read. So if I'm provided that online resource, by all means, yeah, just know that my kids will be involved in it.
And I'd really encourage, especially for older grades, so K-5, there's a lot of like online books that are accessible, but for older grades, I really encourage using the library. I use the library all the time. I can go online, go to the ebook section. I read young adult ebooks online, so stuff that would be great for the two girls. Their age group is up there. It's age appropriate, it's their level, and you can just—
Hazelwood Library?
Yeah, the Carnegie Library, this link here, you can download them right to your computer and read them right on your computer, which is actually where I read them. So
Okay,
yeah, you don't have to have a Kindle. You don't have to have anything like that. You can read it right in your browser. So for that 6th to 8th grade group, that's like probably the best place we can refer you.
that's
And
fine.
if anybody is listening, that may have library fines, I have worked with the Carnegie Library in the past, and they just want kids to be reading. So if you like call and talk to them about the fines, they'll open back up your account most of the time, unless it's like crazy. But they're pretty flexible. And I know in the past when I've called about kids at Hazelwood that have fines, but they want to read, they just take off the fines, especially if they're kids. Like, kids make mistakes, they don't return books. It happens, but we'd rather the kids be reading than not reading. So I really encourage that as a resource.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rachel. I'll check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, can I just add in one more quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just this year in particular, with kids being on virtual learning so much and kids being on technology so much, nothing beats a kid having a book and paper in their hands. So if you have an option, which Debbie, you certainly do, any other parents who are, talking with teachers, you certainly have options. Please reach out to us so that we can get actual books and actual paper and pencil in your kiddos' hands. Because as much as I want them reading, I also want them reading tangible things, and I want them writing with their hands and not typing on a computer. So
I do it. I like to hear my kids read out loud.
Right.
Because I want to know, yes, you can read silently, but can you read out loud?
Right.
Can you write what might be asked of you?
And looking at a screen for hours a day. I mean, even as adults, by the time 5 o'clock rolls around, I am so done looking at a screen, even trying to read. And we just need that shift to an actual book or actual paper. So parents that are listening, please ask your teachers if you need resources, handheld resources. I would love to get some out to everybody so that we're doing more reading, from books than virtual if we can.
I will definitely be doing that. Thank you, Miss Aaron.
Yes, please do.
Great. And I feel like we went over a lot of these things while we were talking, but if any of the teachers want to jump in and add anything quickly, if not, I have some questions that we've prepared from some other parents that couldn't make it tonight that we can move on to.
I just had one final thing to add in there. My last tip was with vocabulary. Vocabulary is an area where kiddos tend to struggle across the board from K the whole way to 12. It just is an area where we struggle. So whatever you're saying at home, even if it's not in your finest parenting moment, like if I said, you're being ridiculous to my child, I'm saying ridiculous. Explain to her what ridiculous means. That's okay. It doesn't have to be your shining moment as a parent, but it can be an opportunity for you to explain big, rich vocabulary words. So that's just and then, when your kiddos come into the classroom, they've heard these big vocabulary words and their brains are bigger, their brains are smarter. So even take your, not, like I said, not shining moments to explain big words to your kids.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. Thank you.
I love that you just said that, Erin. And something that I didn't write in my statement, but I just wanted to say is consistency. It has to be consistent. It's been proven. There's, lots of studies that have been done that if kids read for at least, for kindergarten, 15 minutes an evening, it really boosts their vocabulary. It really gets them thinking about what the stories mean, all of those really neat things that happen when we're learning and growing. And then another neat thing that I love about Epic that Miss Southworth had mentioned about the children having access to Epic is that for the little ones, a lot of the stories have some nice comprehension questions at the end that you can run through with them. So you don't even have to try to think things up. You can have them right there at the end of the stories, ask them a couple of those questions to see if they were really paying attention and know what was happening in the story, or if they're having some struggles with retaining the information and trying to figure out what was happening in stories. But reading together is always been a big deal at my house. I know that my one daughter didn't want to read, but I would read on the porch every single day in the summer. And finally, she was just like, can I read out here with you? So definitely being that role model is very important too. Just letting them see you reading, even if you don't feel like reading, just open up a book in front of you, something, so that they can see that it's not just them expected to read and you're reading too. And it becomes kind of like a little family moment, which is great.
Great tips. Before we move on to the questions we had, so we had some of our parents who weren't able to make it tonight brainstorm some questions. We won't get to all of them, especially we've answered quite a few of them throughout the evening already. But does anybody that hasn't had a chance to ask any questions yet have any questions that they would like to pose to the teachers we have here? I know that, some of you are also parents to kiddos in different schools who are on the line as well. So I just wanted to give everybody a chance to ask something. Okay. So I thought that this was a really good question for the time that we're in, and I wanted to get the teachers' thoughts on it. And we had some parents ask a few weeks ago. They were having trouble. They work, but they work at home, or sometimes they're at home, and sometimes their kids are at home without them because they're older and they can, self-regulate during the day. But they're having trouble keeping their kids engaged throughout the day, and it takes up a lot of their time to have to jump to their kids' work, and then they're on their computer working, or they're getting calls at their work, so what can we do at the beginning of the day to encourage kids to stay focused, especially if they're having trouble following that virtual schedule?
I can give a little advice. So at the beginning of the day, what seemed to be helpful, I've been teaching from home and having kids and having my own children online. So I've been doing both. And what's something I found to be helpful is at the beginning of the day or even the night before, setting out things that are appropriate for them to do when they need that outlet. So on the dining room table every morning, I lay out, they're allowed to have watercolor paint, washable paint, and Play-Doh. And so there are those things that they have a break in between. Was this question more referring to them staying engaged in class, or just engage
I think it was more they wandered off throughout the day. They would start the day really engaged and then come to the fourth lesson they didn't want to log on, or they were just done, so
Right.
I think that's what you've already said is a really good suggestion of that outlet to keep their mind refocused.
Yeah, and as a parent, I would just set those, I try really hard to set them out the night before so that you're not scrambling, trying to work and trying to get things out for your kiddos. That's been really helpful.
For some of the older kids and even for some of the younger kids, sometimes a visual of what they have to do for the day will help. So if you have a little chart for them or a checklist for them to be able to check off, okay, I did this, I did that. Those checks and being able to check those things off give them a sense of that purpose that we talked about earlier. And it also gives them that visual reminder that they're getting things done. So it doesn't feel as overwhelming as the day goes on either. But definitely let the kids have some mini breaks. I would say if you have a little egg timer, teach them how to set it for 5 minutes to take a 5-minute break in between them doing activities. Because the reality of it is, if they're in school, they're going to get a bathroom break. They're going to get a little bit of a brain break here or there. Especially in kindergarten, we have them up and moving around so that they can get some of the antsy, moments out. So definitely let them take those little breaks. But sometimes that visual reminder definitely helps, and a little checklist to make them a little bit more responsible for their own learning and what they're getting done.
Did anybody else have any tips on that?
I was just going to add too, I think at least with older kids, it might be helpful to going along with the same checking things off your list, but trying to maintain some sort of routine and schedule, and going back to the growth mindset. Remember last year you were in school every day, and you went to each of your classes and we completed all of these assignments, and so I know that you can do it. And we're getting ready to do this again when the time is, when we're back in school 100%. So it's not just, it's great to take breaks and obviously incorporate that in, but also, setting that timer at the same time every morning to wake up and still maintaining a routine and reminding them that we have done this in the past and you did great at it in the past. And we're going to get back into a routine to continue this for the future as well.
So that's, go ahead, Chris.
I had also suggested to some parents who had been struggling in my classroom with keeping kids on track is, if you're able to at home, have a separate workspace for the children, so that they know, like, when you're over here, you're doing schoolwork, and at the end of the day, once you're playing, you're doing it in a different space. Definitely making sure that they know, like, this is part of learning, making sure they have those routines, like Miss Southworth said, and getting up out of bed, getting dressed, we're getting ready for school, because the routines are definitely important for children to have.
I just one more thing. Sorry, Rachel, one more thing. So I just want to also just remind that we're expecting kids to look at a screen for hours at a time. And so that's just not how students typically function. And I know it is how we are now, but it's also not always developmentally appropriate to have a child looking at a screen for hours on end. So just keep that in mind too, and that try to communicate if your kids are having an off day, if they're, that's what you would do if they were in a classroom. So just let me know, my kid's having a really hard time sitting still today. Like, just communicate that with your teacher, or even teach your older kids to communicate that to their teacher and advocate for themselves. And so that way that we know on our end, this kiddo's having a hard time sitting still today. So then we all are in a clear communication path, and it's okay for the kiddo to get up a couple times. Just remembering that online and in a virtual setting is not normal, and it doesn't feel right to kiddos all the time. So just keep that in mind.
I think that's a good point, to give yourself a little bit of grace.
Right.
Like, if you're at home teaching and you're not normally a teacher, or if you're at home teaching and you're also a teacher, those things are all hard for everybody. Like, these are not struggles that like one person is having. These are struggles I've heard from multiple families who I talk to on the phone. I ask how they're doing, and it's hard. And it's not just you, it's everybody struggling with keeping the kids like really engaged online for, like we said, hours throughout the day. So I hope some of these tips and tricks were able to kind of help some of the parents that were listening, help them come up with some ideas to, keep the kids engaged in reading and writing through this time. I do want to be aware of everybody's time. We're all busy. We've all been on the computer all day, a lot of us, whether it's at work or helping our kids through the school day. So I wanted to, thank the Center of Life for hosting us, and all the Propel staff that presented, and the parents that, came and listened and learned. We really appreciate you. I'll share this with Kiyomi, and who will send it out to the registrant list. So everybody will get the PowerPoint with the links. And as always, even if you are not a Hazelwood family, a Propel Hazelwood family, you can reach out to me. My contact information is like readily available. I'll throw it in the PowerPoint so you have it as well when I send it out. But feel free to reach out for anything. And, like we said, we want to help kids. We want to connect you guys to resources. So, that's all. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a good evening. Stay safe tonight. We're supposed to get like another 3 inches of snow. So.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.